We should be gaining muscle year-round, including when we cut. Hey everybody, it's Jason Blaha here, and I thought I would chat with you guys and gals a little bit about this today. And again, this is one of these topics why so many guys just don't get as big as they should. Too many guys, they bulk and cut too aggressively, and they get caught up in this idea, well, I've got some extra body fat, so I should just cut really fast so I can go back to gaining. Right? Here's the problem with that. All they do is lose a bunch of muscle. All they do is lose a bunch of muscle, okay? And then where does that leave them? That they wasted the whole bulk? Because you should be gaining anyways. The problem with that mindset is because everyone thinks that they're going to get fast results doing stuff. And they have this idea that they shouldn't be gaining muscle at all, right? So they're like, the faster I can cut, the faster I can go back to gaining muscle. But why aren't you gaining muscle on your cut? Do you see the issue with the mindset? So then it causes people to speed it up. Just like people bulk too fast and then they just get fat and they gain a bunch of fat. And I've been guilty of that in the past. Okay? I've been guilty of that in the past. And that's why these days I've just slowly trimmed down and spend periods of time recomping a little bit. And again, I no longer look like a fat power lifter. I'm still not as lean as I want to be, but here's the thing. Have I lost any muscle? No, if anything, I've gained muscle. And that's kind of the point I tell people, they start these endeavors and they're like, well, I need to cut really quick. You're cutting more than half a pound a week. You're probably just losing muscle. And let's just be realistic about it. And you should be gaining it. And that's the whole problem. That is really the problem with it. If you understand that you're gaining muscle all the time, then you're not in a hurry to say, man, I should just cut really fast so that you can lose a whole year's worth of muscle growth. That's ridiculous. When you look at the research in all the studies, when weight loss is slow, protein is really high and training is dialed in, what happens? People gain muscle. They gain muscle. When you look at studies on advanced athletes, when protein is high, training is dialed in, and they're close to maintenance, do they recomposition? Yes. I mean, how many studies do we have to look at over and over and over on trained lifters where recomposition occurred when protein was really high? Or when the training was perfect. I mean, there are dozens and dozens and dozens of studies at this point where test subjects gained muscle and lost fat concurrently, all who had 3 or more years of consistent training. Okay? Who had 3 years or more of consistent training. We have all these squat studies, these different studies, where we see it over and 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 over for decades, including the current studies with modern equipment. I mean, it's been seen repeatedly. So it's only the whole physique world and the online fitness world. These are the only people who don't seem to realize that recomposition is perfectly normal. If you were to go look at any university that studies athletes, and they look in the lab at the different programming and DEXA scan and whatever the various athletes, what do they say? Oh, yeah, look, we got their training right. Notice it's always training studies too. Yep, they gained muscle and lost fat. That's the desirable goal. Okay? That's perfectly normal. That's normal in strength and conditioning circles at university level when they're studying all these athletes in the lab. It happens all the time. Yet the whole fitness world is convinced otherwise. Why? Because they want big changes in body weight. This is what causes the problem. This is why there's confusion. Everyone wants to bulk fast and they want to cut fast. Reality is, get to a body fat you're reasonably happy with and you can recomp all the time. You can recomp, or you can slowly cut and keep 100% of your gains and maybe add a little muscle instead of, well, I'm going to cut fast and lose muscle and get right back to bulking again. Well, why do you even need to bulk? Why are you bulking to begin with? Do you think it's going to cause dramatically more muscle growth? It's not. All the data we have shows that even gaining a half a pound a month for advanced lifters will maximize every single last drop of muscle you can possibly gain. Anything beyond that's just fat. All right? And I used to disagree with this, by the way. I'm correcting my own stance. I used to make all the arguments in the world for this. I made every logical argument possible. The problem is they're logical arguments. So if we were having a logical debate, would I have won? Sure. Would I be right? No, because the evidence doesn't support it. The evidence just simply does not support this idea. Okay? And the reality is if you gain really slow, it can be 100% lean gains. You can stay at a similar body weight. And again, you keep protein high. Stuff like this is where I mess with fasting, protein overfeeding. All right? You can recomposition, or you can even lose a little body fat and the scale goes down, but you make some gains. Okay? And it should be this way. So all the time, you should be gaining muscle year round, whether it's lean gains or in a mild cut. The only exception are people who are really ripped. But guys like me, I'm not really ripped, and I guarantee you 95% of you out there listening are not ripped. So therefore, it doesn't apply to you. So in that case, you should be able to gain muscle year round, including when you cut. So people need to drop this idea of these rapid cuts. Okay, they need to drop this idea. Okay? Because it doesn't work that way. Again, and I know some people are going to argue. I'm going to have different people. Well, this protein sparing modified fast. Whatever, guys. But the reality is it's based upon a false premise that, yep, you can go back to gaining again. But you can be gaining all the time. You don't ever stop gaining. Eat 300 grams of protein a day and keep your training perfect, and you'll gain muscle almost irrespective of if you're in a bulk or a cut to some extent. And it should be that way. That should be our mindset. But how many guys also, if they go into a little bit of a cut, they slack off on the how hard they're training with certain stuff. They don't push progressive overload because they're like, well, I'm not going to gain anywhere. I'm just going to try to turn. So then they cut fast. They only quote unquote try to maintain, and then they lose muscle. Yeah, you should be pushing your training. Should be keeping your protein high and quit trying to lose weight so fast. You end up with better body composition if you can make some gains instead of losing them because you're in this mindset of, well, I just want to try to hold on to my muscle. No, you should be trying to gain muscle. Stop it. You should be gaining muscle. Ridiculous. Absolutely ridiculous. Should be getting bigger all the time, guys and gals. Says me, and says most of the best experts. This is what the data shows in nutrition on this stuff all the time. And especially when the protein intakes get really high. If you start force feeding enough protein, this shouldn't even be a problem. Okay? Shouldn't even be a problem.